The Simpsons is one of the most witty, unforgettable, and insanely popular animated series on TV, with its comedy and satire seamlessly interwoven into our society. With that said, the show has experienced compromises and censorship over the years, whether it's episodes being ripped to shreds or just getting outright banned. These are 11 times that The Simpsons was censored. Starting out our list, we have Homer's drug use in Weekend at Burnsies. In the season 13 episode titled Weekend at Burnsies, Homer falls into addiction after overusing the drug that was medically prescribed to him. Despite the success it brings him at work, the drug's other consequences are quite negative for Homer, which becomes so alarming that his family gets concerned as well. Although this episode received a TV-14 rating here in the US, Fox decided to tone back the severity of Homer's drug use. Whether it was because the studio felt the subject matter might promote drug abuse,
Homer, you don't need drugs anymore,
or it just hit a little close to home regarding some of our society's drug issues, it ended up being heavily edited. The UK was even more uncomfortable airing the episode, and hence it was banned in the region for years. Today, viewers can probably find the episode, but it still holds its uncut status. Another censored episode of The Simpsons features gun use in the Cartridge family. Besides drug abuse, another aspect of The Simpsons that attracted censorship was the depiction of gun use in the season 9 episode The Cartridge Family. After witnessing a wild soccer riot in town, Homer decides to purchase a handgun in order to protect his family.
I'd like to buy your deadliest gun, please.
However, he fails to handle the weapon correctly and ends up treating it like a toy in a highly irresponsible manner. In fact, during one scene, Homer casually points the gun at Marge's face as if it's no big deal. Later on, Bart repeats the act with Milhouse when the two quote-unquote play. Homer's reckless gun use was a bit of a red flag for censors, which they felt could have led to disastrous consequences. For this reason, the TV channel Sky One went ahead with banning this episode entirely, while the US rebroadcasts still continued to omit the two most concerning gunplay scenes. Next up, we have the depiction of Rio de Janeiro in Blame It on Lisa. Another Simpsons episode that seldomly airs due to its controversy is season 13's Blame It on Lisa. It sees the Simpsons heading to Brazil in search of the South American orphan that Lisa sponsors when they learned the child goes missing. The plot is set in Brazil's second most populous city, Rio de Janeiro. Despite the episode's intentions, it depicted Rio quite negatively, which, quite frankly, is hard to ignore. Most of the plot revolves around Homer being held for ransom due to a lack of safety in the city. Rio is also shown to be a center of crime, slum areas, and rat infestations. Some argued that the episode failed to represent Brazilian culture accurately, mixing it with that of other Latin American countries. So it makes sense that the tourist board of Rio de Janeiro was quite furious with the Simpsons episode and even threatened to sue the creators of the show. Although those charges were later dropped after an official apology, Blame It on Lisa is still a heavily censored episode. Next up is a disturbing scene of suicide bombing in Day of Jackanapes. This season 12 episode follows Sideshow Bob's release from prison, after which he attempts hypnotizing Bart to kill Krusty the Clown. Bob's inhumane murder plan was already disturbing enough, yet the episode still took things a bit too far when it showed Bart blowing himself up while wearing a suicide vest. The scene was definitely dark, disturbing, and even triggering for some viewers, which is why Sky One decided to drop this episode entirely from 2002 to 2004. Moving on, we have the offensive jokes in Cape Fear. It must have been hard to be a Simpsons fan in Germany during the 90s, since one of the show's all-time best episodes was skipped in the rotation. Aired in 1993, Cape Fear is the second episode of season 5, and features the return of Sideshow Bob to Springfield for revenge against Bart for exposing his murder plot. Simpsons fans know there's a lot to appreciate in this episode. In fact, in 2003, Entertainment Weekly named it the third greatest episode in the show's entire history. So, what set Germany off? Well, it was McBain's stand-up material at the start of the episode that had the episode banned in Germany. It turns out the jokes were just too much for the country. The next episode displays heavy graphic violence in Treehouse of Horror 27. The Simpsons annual Halloween specials, aka the Treehouse of Horror segments, involve some of the most intense displays of violence in the series. One of these installments, Treehouse of Horror 27, seemingly attempts to showcase way more violence than the sitcom was allowed to. It's also the 600th episode, which may be why the show's creators carelessly went overboard. This episode had more violence than apparently some could handle, specifically during the BFF RIP and Mo Finger segments. As a result, this Halloween episode was taken off schedule for the New Zealand network TVNZ. Next, we have Homer offending the Russian Orthodox Church in Looking for Mr. Goodbart. While some of the show's episodes were censored due to their graphic or violent content, others became controversial due to disrespect or offense towards a particular culture. One such episode is Season 28's Looking for Mr. Goodbart. While hinting at the popular Pokemon Go phenomenon, it follows Homer's obsession with the mobile app's parody called Pokemon Get. He's eventually shown playing the game in the church, which was perceived as an attack on the Russian Orthodox Church.
Look, this game is, or at least was, bigger than Jesus.
For this reason, the Russian broadcast network, 2x2, banned the Simpsons episode altogether. The Simpsons faced a massive backlash for defaming New Orleans in A Streetcar Named Marge. A Streetcar Named Marge is an episode from Season 4 and highlights Homer and Marge reaching a delightful common ground. However, the episode is still notorious due to a song that describes New Orleans negatively. The peppy musical number is from a movie called Oh, Streetcar, for which Marge auditions and gets a role. The name of the movie and this episode's entire title is an obvious reference to the 1951 movie A Streetcar Named Desire. Perhaps this is what the show wanted to fixate the spotlight on, but the sarcastic song pointing towards New Orleans ended up facing significant backlash. The writers later apologized for this. In the next episode opening, Bart repeatedly writes, "I will not defame New Orleans on the blackboard." Another episode was censored for coinciding with the news on the Washington sniper, and Wild Barts Can't Be Broken. Some instances of censorship can be caused by unfortunate timing. Even if an aspect of the plot is not intentionally offensive, it can be viewed in a whole different light when recent events add another context. A major example is the Season 10 episode Wild Barts Can't Be Broken, which depicts an interesting interaction between Springfield's youth and adults. When the town's children are blamed for wrecking the grounds and indoors of the local elementary school, Chief Wiggum imposes a strict sunset curfew on them. In the same episode, there was some dialogue that made BBC Two postpone its premiere and set it aside from consideration.
Yeah, that sniper at the All-Star game was a blessing in disguise.
In Wiggum's dialogue, any child found outside after dark will be shot, later became an issue amidst the Washington sniper attacks in October of 2002.
Any kid caught on the street after dark will be shot.
The show has a track record of occasionally offending countries, and it happened again because of a seizure scene in 30 Minutes Over Tokyo. In this Season 10 episode, the Simpsons take a last-minute holiday to Tokyo after going on a budget and saving plenty. Later, however, they end up losing all their money, which eventually leaves them with no option but to participate in a dangerous Japanese game show in exchange for the airfare back home. The episode doesn't shy away from pointing out every Japanese stereotype you could possibly think of, and it's safe to say the show crossed the line during one scene. In one part of the episode, Homer and others willfully induce seizures via anime as a means of relaxing, which was apparently very offensive for Japanese viewers. So it comes as no surprise that channels in Japan completely disapproved of the Simpsons episode by banning it. They even refused to include it in their official Season 10 DVD set. Finally, we have an episode of The Simpsons that was about the World Trade Center in the city of New York versus Homer Simpson. One of the biggest cases of censorship on The Simpsons was this Season 9 episode. It aired 4 years before the devastating 9/11 attacks. Due to the main plot being centered around the World Trade Center, the episode was later removed in the United States from 2001 to 2006. Although some TV networks began to air the episode again, the British channel, Sky One, did not do so until 2005. The station made several cuts to remove some scenes,
That guy, they stick all the jerks in Tower 1.
especially the one involving the dialogue. They stick all the jerks in Tower 1. This episode was among the most prominent ones that was censored, but given the fact that it was made several years before the actual attack, it was obviously all just a coincidence. But let us know in the comments section, can you think of a more controversial episode of The Simpsons? And let us know what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge more of our videos. But most importantly, stay wicked.